if you can start to increase your weights, then you will definitely see an uptick in strength, muscle mass, metabolism, joint health and strength, and even energy levels.
Welcome to Thriving in Menopause, brought to you by Prevention Magazine. I'm Zoe Mernier, the editor of Prevention. Thank you for joining me for episode 3 of season 11. Today on the podcast, we'll be taking a deep dive into the importance of how movement and exercise can support us through the menopausal journey and why it's just so vital for setting us up for a healthy, longer life post-menopause, as well as looking at what the best physical activity we should be doing at this time is. Guiding us through this topic, we're happy to welcome back fitness guru Michelle Bridges, mastermind of the 12-week body transformation program, who has now also created a tailored exercise, health and mindset program called the Menopause Method. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back and chatting with you again. And I just love the fact that we're diving into these topics and kind of sharing the message. But I think more importantly, I really come from a place of solution. That's my go-to. I want to find the solutions to the symptoms or the issues or the problems that we are suffering and you shout them from the rooftops, because there are plenty. There are plenty. And it's not just a one solution fix either. There's several factors that are going to need to be addressed, that are going to need to be tweaked, that are going to be perhaps removed or brought in to allow you to really take this empowering, I'd like to say, transition, because it is just how you look at it, it's just how much you're prepared to put some work in, because it's going to require some work. You're going to have to become the CEO of your own life. And I was only just talking about this topic to Dr. Jen Hacker Pearson, who is a neuroscientist and psychologist in women's health. So she covers the gamut from puberty to pregnancy to peri and menopause. And she says it is an exciting time because there's 3 phases in your life when your brain is transitioning. And it's those 3 phases that I just mentioned. And your brain is actually quite plastic or has plasticity during this transition, even though it is challenging. And I'd never take it away from anybody that this transition isn't challenging, because it is. However, by changing the narrative, by giving women a voice, by having women feel heard and feel seen, and then most importantly, giving solid, factual, science-backed research, she can feel very empowered moving into this next phase. Because you know what? I hear that on the other side of this, when you get into your late 50s and your 60s, it apparently is freaking amazing. So I want to go into that phase.
Absolutely.
Ready to go.
Let's get there. All right. In the meantime, let's talk about what are some of the main ways that exercise helps support us through perimenopause and into menopause.
Okay, so again, exercise is one of the gold standard solutions when it comes to perimenopause and menopause. We know that it's research-based, it's science-based, and you'd be nuts not to do it, frankly, given now, especially what I know. But obviously I'm a big fan of it. I've spent my whole career doing it, but it is the gold standard. We know that when we hit perimenopause, and many women don't know that they're perimenopausal. Most women in this country don't know that they're perimenopausal. But when we go there, our estrogen drops off a cliff. And for some ladies, it's going to be a bigger chaotic upheaval than others, but it will be a chaotic moment. You're going to be like, what's going on? Your hormones are all over the place, up and then they're down. And then we have estrogen receptors in every single part of our body, from our brains to our bones, to our gut, to our muscle, everywhere, which is why the symptoms are so whack.
Yeah. They affect every part of us, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and why many women can't put their finger on what the hell is wrong with me right now. not relating that to perimenopause or then therefore menopause. So we are going to have all of these different changes. So by making sure that we're getting in exercise, it's going to help with these hormonal changes. It's going to help with the support of when you're going into hormone chaos. There'll be assistance in your metabolism because once you're into perimenopause, you're starting to lose muscle, which is therefore going to then have an impact on your insulin resistance, which is going to then have an impact on potentially putting weight on and even making it a little bit harder to lose. So if you're exercising, you're already propping yourself up against that. By increasing your muscle mass, we know that is going to help with insulin resistance. So it's going to help with weight management, and it's going to help with bone strength, because we know bones start to decrease their strength with this chaos of hormonal changes that are going on in perimenopause and menopause. So you've got strong muscles. Guess what? You've automatically got strong bones. So you're going to be affecting the overall strength of your muscular skeletal system. Those two things work together. And that's going to help with things, like I said, such as weight management, such as turning your two-stroke engine into a V8 so that you're burning calories while you're sleeping at night, but also going straight into your bone density. And now when you start to talk about bone density, it sounds like an old lady's problem. Man, it is probably one of the most important things that you want to be taking care of. Bone density is when you start to lose your bone density, then you're increasing your risk of osteopenia, which is the beginning or the precursor to osteoporosis, which, when we start to go down those paths, we're opening up a can of worms to all sorts of different muscular or skeletal issues. And in the research that I've been doing, many of the fractures and breaks that can occur during this time can pretty much be preventable.
Yeah.
How? Through exercise.
Indeed.
And building your strength, building your core, building your balance, building your mobility, building your ability to be able to catch yourself in a fall.
I mean, I think, a lot of women might be out there going, well, look, I'm fine. I've been, I've always stayed pretty active. I do exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true that you can't really, when you get into the perimenopausal and menopausal years, you really actually have to look quite closely at what exercises you're doing. You can't always necessarily continue doing the exercise that you might have been doing in the past. Do we have to tweak our exercise regimes through this period?
I think it's a very important time to have a look at what you're doing, because most Gen Xers grew up chained to the treadmill trying to be skinny.
Absolutely.
That was the gold.
That was what we were told. Fat burning zone,
Yep.
50 minutes, at this.
And what that was doing was actually a massive disservice to your body when you now hit perimenopause and beyond, because you don't have that muscle density, that muscle quality. And therefore, if you don't have that muscle density and that muscle quality, then your bone strength isn't going to be there either, because we know those two things work hand in hand.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to start doing resistance training. And I think, I think most people have heard that by now, but I know that many, many, many haven't. It's only because I'm eyeballs deep in this stuff.
Likewise,
so by doing resistance training, what you're ultimately doing then is turning your two-stroke into a V8. You're protecting yourself with body armor. You're burning more calories by being that V8. But more importantly, you're also protecting your joints, your joint health, because again, this is another symptom that turns up for ladies: frozen shoulder, hip irritability. That was me. I just thought it was because I trained so much for my whole life. But I've now got it into a place where it's virtually almost gone. So these things can turn up for you, and you're going, what's going on here? Not even relating it back to the symptoms of perimenopause. But the beauty of being able to do weight training and mobility training is going to support your joint health and your joint stability and your joint strength. And trust me, anyone that's ever had frozen shoulder before, and I'm sure some of your listeners will be nodding their heads vigorously, it is an extraordinarily painful thing, and it can take upwards of a year to sort of get on the other side of it.
Absolutely. We'll be right back after this.
All women experience menopause in their own unique way, and for many, menopause can bring challenging symptoms like hot flushes, night sweats, mood swings, and mild anxiety. Supporting your body through this transition is essential to your well-being. It's time to focus on you. To help you on your journey, Promensal Menopause is a non-hormonal plant-based product designed to help relieve menopausal symptoms. The Promensal range has been designed to ensure you're not held back from embracing this new life stage. Choose from Promensal's menopause range to support you through all the stages of menopause. It's time to get back to being you. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Okay, we're back. Now, I want to really sort of knuckle down on this resistance training, strength training, because, you know, a lot of women say, well, I do yoga, I do Pilates, you know, I do this strength training with my body weight, or, you know, they might use light weights. Is that enough? Or do we really need to be kind of looking closely at how we're weight training? Should we be lifting heavier weights than we think we should?
Okay, it's a great question. And I always say the best workout is the one that gets done. So, you know, at the bottom of the line, doing anything is better than nothing. And if you're doing some form of body weight resistance, and that would be in the forms of perhaps, say, yoga, although Pilates, you can increase the weight if you're using a reformer bed or you're using some form of weights within that particular workout as well. All good. Tick, tick, tick. If you can start to increase your weights or start to use a little more progression within your weights, then you will definitely see an uptick in strength, muscle mass, metabolism, even joint health and strength, as we spoke of before, and even energy levels as too, because you're challenging yourself. So that's kind of the idea, is you get better, but then you up the ante.
Absolutely.
It's not a deal breaker. I mean, you're still going to be getting great things out of doing light body weight and light hand weights. But if you really want to, I guess, future-proof your body, then at some point you need to add some progressions. You know, I have a 10-kilo weighted vest. It's a little heavy, but it's great to go on a walk with my dog and hit the stairs. And you know, I certainly feel it when I take it off. I do my housework in it,
right,
and I also clean the car in it. So I get a double whammy. I get a clean house and a workout. Boom.
Yes. Now this is known as rucking, isn't it? That's right. Like rucking is where you actually walk around with weights attached to you. It's kind of the new buzzword. I've been hearing a bit about it lately. But yeah, I mean, it elevates a typical walk to you're burning more calories. You're putting more sort of stress on your bones and therefore strengthening them. So it's definitely something to think about. That's an easy way to just add a little bit of weight and resistance, you know. Weight bearing. Yeah.
And another thing that is great, and not every woman can do it. So I have to meet women at where they are at right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But some women can do like a jumping technique, but it might be with a skipping rope. It might be standing on a step and stepping down with a little bit of a thud, obviously not jarring yourself, but or jumping up onto the step. These techniques are really very powerful if you are able to do them, because they instantly have a big effect on your bones strength as well, and particularly in your joints. So ladies that can run. Ladies that can do some form of jump, plyometric work, keep it up, because it's all good stuff. But there'll be plenty of ladies that will say, well, I can't because my knees are too far gone from being a runner or whatever. Then we just hit them with, you know, solid strength training exercises using progressions in their weights. I do a lot of body pump, so I get to a point with that in a body pump class where I cannot get any heavier. Like I'm at my level.
Yeah.
But it took me a while to get to a place where I just can't get any more, because you're doing so many reps. It's another great form of training because you're in, you're out, you don't have to think about it. Someone else is doing all the thinking. There's music, there's a vibe, people. So it's another great way to train.
Definitely. It's very motivating for sure. I mean, I think, and again, it has been said quite a few times, but I feel like it needs to be drummed into a lot of women that you won't bulk up from strength training. I think that's really something that a lot of women still have in their head. Again, probably the Gen Xers that grew up with that sort of feeling.
I mean, if it was that easy, if it was only that easy, no, there's a lot of work to be put into really building up bulk. I do weight training. I wouldn't consider myself a bulky woman. The idea of women thinking that they're going to bulk up is it's almost virtually impossible, to be honest with you. Like, particularly a woman, first of all, a woman to put on a huge amount of muscle takes an enormous amount of work, almost full-time work, if you like.
Right.
And a fair amount of, a lot of nutrition behind it, supporting it as well. But a perimenopausal woman or a menopausal woman, it's almost impossible. Your body is in a place now where to try and build muscle is going to be pretty tough. So what you want to be doing is just retaining the muscle that you have.
Right, yeah.
Hang on to it.
Yeah.
Hang on to it like it's liquid gold, because when you lose it, it's very hard to get it back. So let's just keep it in that, if you can grow it, and you can in your 50s, it's been proven. We've seen women that have done it. But even if you can just retain it, and by doing weight training, obviously is one form of doing that. Again, making sure that you're getting the right amount of protein. I think they say half a kilo to every 1 kilo of body weight, but that's like a very basic standard. What we're saying in menopause and perimenopause is if you could do 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight, you'd be more, that'd be a much better place for you. And then you incorporate your weight training with it, and you're going to be hanging on to that muscle. We haven't even touched on the mental side of these things, so what it does with your mood and what it does with your mind. A strong body, usually I've found in my career, a strong body, there's a strong mind in there.
Yeah.
There's someone that's got grit. There's someone that's got some resilience. There's someone that can go, you know what, I'm going to get these last 3 reps in, God damn it. A strong body, you're always going to have a strong mind. And I think when you're coming through this kind of time in our life, you're going to need one.
Yeah, absolutely. And often they are also, well, not necessarily happy all the time, but they, people that have a strong body often have, because it does release endorphins, and, it certainly has, they're often happy people, or their moods are much,
they're more balanced and evened out.
Yeah,
and I think this is a really important note that you bring up, because, when you look at the lineup and the long lineup of symptoms, the go-to is hot flashes. And that's the only reason it's hot flashes, is because they can't pin anything on a hot flash. Like, there's no other medical reason why you would have one.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of other medical reasons why you might have a frozen shoulder, or why you might not be able to sleep that well at night, or why you might be feeling a little bit anxious. There's a bunch of other things. This is why it gets all muddied. But these are now realistic symptoms in perimenopause, because the estrogen receptors, as we said at the start, are everywhere. So when they start going into chaos, you can have depression, you can have anxiety, you can have a sense of impending doom. I remember thinking, why am I feeling like something bad's going to happen? You can have sleep disturbances. You can have tinnitus. I had tinnitus. I used to wake up in the middle of the night. I still do occasionally, to the sound of the old internet dial-up. You know that sound? Can you hear it now?
Yes. We thought it had gone, but no, it's made a comeback.
No, it's my tinnitus. It's made a comeback. All of these interesting and
yeah.
quite,
I mean, I was just hearing the other day, like gut conditions. That kind of thing that you think is just maybe IBS, but it's even heartburn. Gosh, it's like it's never ending. The things that
it's kind of just like what I was told was, it's just what it causes is a bit of an amplification of life. So, you know, you might have had these symptoms very, very mildly and wouldn't have even batted an eyelid at it particularly, but it's elevated them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But certainly we know that it's going to improve your mood. So that's why, again, exercise is critically important for not just perimenopausal women or menopausal women, but people who do suffer depression and anxiety. In fact, I say that we'd have world peace if everybody exercised in the world.
Yeah, it would certainly solve a lot of problems. Now, given that we are at an age where, I mean, we can just wake up one morning and find that we've put our back out in our sleep somehow, like how, if we are exercising, especially if we're trying to do strength training, what's some good advice for kind of minimizing injury and keeping ourselves safe and strong as we try and get stronger?
Well, I guess you just want to progress slowly. So if you've never used weights in your life, then you're going to start doing these movements just simply by using your own body weight. I think for most people who are starting to look at doing something like a training regime with using some light, minimal to moderate weights, there is some really great. You've only got to Google, how do I do a deadlift? Give me some great technique, and you'll find it's all there. So it's all accessible, this information, and very accessible. I think it's important to sort of realize that this is the kind of stuff that's going to minimize injuries.
Absolutely. It will minimize it in the long run. But I guess if you are completely new to it, I guess making sure that you have got your form right is important. So as you say, just don't do it if you are completely...
Don't go so heavy. Don't go so heavy when you start out. You just start very small steps and gradually build by maybe 5 to 10% every other week.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a prescription of, let's say, 10 repetitions and you can get to all 10 really easily, then you want to be starting to increase your weight so that, like, by the time you get to rep number 8, it's a bit of a challenge. But you don't want to be picking up a set of 20-kilo dumbbells and just trying to, you know, throw them around within the first 2 weeks. So I like to think that most people have common sense. I like to think that most people err on the side of caution and usually don't realize just how strong they are. Most people underestimate how strong they are, really, in my experience.
Yeah, definitely. Now, of course, the all-important mindset. You know, of course, we know we should be exercising regularly, but when we're battling things like fatigue, brain fog, exhaustion, you know, it can be the last thing we feel like doing. Now, you are someone, I know you've always said that it's always about consistency with you, but can you just give us your, you know, the Michelle Bridges, straight from the horse's mouth, tips on how do you break through those barriers where sort of, you know, the brain is willing, but, you know, the flesh isn't, or whatever that saying is.
I think it's got to come down to, you know, I guess how important you want to put yourself. You know, where do you put yourself in the lineup of this? And if it's that you can't help but put your family first, then fine, put your families first, but put them first in this regard. Who's going to look after them? Who looks after them the best? So if you're putting them first, then just think about potentially putting your fitness and health first so that you can be that person to look after them and be that person to, you know, be around a whole lot longer, to the point where you're with them through their adult life and with them through into grandchildren. But particularly now that I'm in this world of research of menopause, I ask myself a lot, how do I want to turn up for my late 50s? How do I want to see my life shaping up when I'm 60? What's that going to look like? And I think the bigger picture, you know, I'd probably say different things to different age groups, maybe just pull the lever a little harder. But one thing that really has stood out from my personal point of view, and I hear it a lot from other women my age, is that they don't want to be a burden on their family. That they don't want to be in a nursing home. They want to be as independent and as mobile as they possibly can. And I thought, well, that's a motivator. For me, it is.
Yeah. And
I don't want to be a burden.
At this age, we are, you know, before you could just sort of, it was always something that was, you know, not very tangible, but, you know, a lot of us are have our parents going through it, or it's a lot closer now than we sort of ever imagined it being. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think when you're a bit younger, you just still do have that sort of I'm invincible kind of mindset, don't you? But it's
you do. Of course, you don't think about those sorts of things, but there's been plenty of times where I've thought, I just can't. I haven't got it in me today. I just don't have it in me. But I'll take the dog out for a walk.
Yeah.
And I'll think, oh, bugger it. You know what? I'll put my weighted vest on when I do it.
Yeah.
So we'll go for a 20-minute walk. Now, it's a 20-minute walk with a weighted vest. Is it the workout of my dreams? No. But it was better than sitting on the couch, which is only going to take my health backwards.
Absolutely. And then you get back from that walk and you've actually got increased energy and also a sense of accomplishment. And the dog's been walked.
I've done something. The dog's been walked. I've ticked a box. So I feel like, and the way to combat that, I think, is to really, if you can, set yourself up with a clear system, habits, routines, and rituals. You've heard me bang on about that a lot. So just getting yourself into that groove. For me, I drop Axel at school and I work out. Some mornings I get up before he wakes up and I work out at home, and then I take him to school and then I go to work. For me, getting the monkey off the back is the best for me. Like, when I've got it hanging over my head that I've still got to do a workout, it shits me. I hate it. It makes me feel, I don't need any more anxiety. I don't need to put any more pressure on myself. So the idea of getting it done first thing in the morning, for me, for my headspace, works.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a better person throughout the rest of the day too. I'm in a much better mood because I'm, my little halo is shining.
Absolutely.
So that for me, I think, is getting that system in place. So like, I'm a single parent. My son's only 8. So I can't head off to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning and leave him at home. I can't. So I've got my setup in a little room, just in one of my spare rooms. It's not like most people think, oh, Michelle Bridges would have like this massive gym setup. I don't. I don't. I don't have room for it. So I have my weights. I have a selection of dumbbells. I have my barbell. I do a lot of body pump at home. I've got a bike that I ride, and I do my workout before he wakes up, and then I get him up for school and off we go. If I'm fortunate enough that I can go into work a little bit later, I'll do a workout after school drop off if I don't feel like waking up early. I don't wake up early every morning. Usually 6 o'clock most mornings. But then, I just have my routine and I have my structure and I just get it done.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for those little
Sometimes you just got to go, you know what? I don't want to do it, but I know that this is going to be so freaking good for me, for my health, for my mental health, for my body, for all the things that we've just talked about for the last 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's remembering the why, as they say. Well, unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. So thank you so much for your insights, Michelle. It was so valuable.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And listeners, thank you for joining us as well. If you liked this episode, we'd love you to rate, review, and subscribe. And we hope you'll join us for next week's episode. Meanwhile, for more information about living your best life at midlife, pick up a copy of Prevention Magazine. I'm Zoe Mernier. See you next time.